Every year, people spend thousands on compact crossovers, small SUVs, and even large hatchbacks, with the promise from the manufacturers that as soon as winter comes, they'll be fine. But as soon as conditions actually get serious, they're nowhere to be found. The reality is, you'd be far better buying something much older and much cheaper. Something that glides over the snow. Something that wrestles with the winter months. And that's this, the Range Rover L322. What a surprise. The L322 isn't just a luxurious lump, by the way, do not be deceived. It was thoroughly engineered to be an absolute powerhouse in the winter. It truly is fantastic, and ordinary cars cannot compete. They just can't. And that size and weight that I mentioned before really is sort of its party piece in a way. You would think in icy and snowy conditions, a heavy car would actually be an issue. But because of the sheer weight of this being 2.5 tons, that mass and the long wheelbase and the wide track really give it fantastic stability in those conditions. Where a sort of smaller car that, can even have 4-wheel drive feels a bit nervous and twitchy, this just feels planted and solid, and it really does breed confidence. As a prime example, I was on some icy, snowy roads this morning. I actually went out briefly in the e-Golf. I won't bore you to death, but long story short, a family member is struggling with their car, so I offered to actually let them borrow my e-Golf, which is literally not being used at all whatsoever. Not only did it struggle to get off the drive, I could barely drive it down the road. I got to a slight incline and the wheels were spinning. I don't know, because if it's electric, it just doesn't like that amount of torque going through, but it just kept cutting out and not giving me the power, to the point where it dangerously almost just stopped, wouldn't move whatsoever at all, and I just began to slide down this little hill. Thankfully, no one else was coming, and I was able to, sort of slowly brake and put it back where I needed it, but it got that bad I couldn't even get it back on my drive, so I had to sort of beach it on a lower part of a road near me. And after all that, I just think, why am I even messing around? You have this car for a reason, fire it up, and that's what we did. And within seconds, the front windscreen is completely defrosted due to the heated windscreen, it's nice and warm, and it powered through the snow and ice like it was nothing. I was overtaking stranded people. I was very, very smug, let's put it that way. Anyway, as we were saying, driving capability is one thing, but what about comfort? I feel like this isn't even something we need to cover about this. Despite this being over 20 years old, it is not short in the luxury department whatsoever. I've mentioned it so many times on previous videos, but nothing quite drives in the same position as a Range Rover. With this command position that Land Rover have obviously, I don't know if they've copyrighted it, but is their thing. It's just fantastic, especially in the L322 being so square and boxy. You have fantastic surround, fantastic view of everything. Although this is a large car, it doesn't feel large to drive. It feels very encouraging, and I don't know, you just feel like you know where every single part of your car is. You can go down narrow lanes in much smaller cars than this, and I don't feel as confident. You've also got heated seats, a really good climate control system. You've got heated windscreen, which honestly, I've said before on other videos about other cars, I cannot live without one in the UK. It sounds very first world problems, but until you have that sense of smugness where you're not defrosting your windscreen and your neighbour is in that morning, you just won't go back, trust me. Once you have one, you won't go back at all. That, as well as the sound isolation and just the general lightness you get of the cabin, despite this one not actually having a sunroof, it's just such a nice place to be in winter. When it's cold and miserable outside, you just get in this, you're comfy, it's quiet, you go, and you just go on your way. Whatever God throws at you from a life or weather perspective, you're in your own nice little cocoon of opulence and luxury. It's very nice. And as I've said before, this is a TD6 HSE. It is the lowest of the lowest spec, which is, funnily enough, why I love it. But even in something like this, which, you can pick up as low as £2,000, even probably lower than that if you really search the Facebook Marketplace bargain bin, it is a hell of a lot of car for the money. And for winter, genuinely, there isn't a nicer car out there for me. Well, scratch that. There are nicer cars, but as an overall package, there's not much else I'd really want to drive. There just isn't. Right now, I'm driving, doing proper post-Christmas jobs. I've got an entire Christmas tree I've chopped up in the back. I just throw stuff into this. I do take care of it, but it's just a proper workhorse, but just gets me everywhere. I cannot explain how much I love this car. And the fact I now have one in Tonga green with sand interior, and the little quirks that I like it not having a sunroof. Again, the TD6 isn't everyone's cup of tea, but this BMW M57 engine, which is in it, I don't get the hate. I know people moan about the gearbox, but everything else is fantastic. Is it an absolute monster as a motorway cruiser? No, because it's got 5 gears. You know, when you're up at that higher rev range and you're doing 70 miles an hour, yes, it is loud. It is, but for journeys like this, on A roads, B roads, whatever, I could sit and drive this for hours and hours on end. It's so comfy with the air suspension. I've actually just chucked really chunky tyres on this, so I think my sidewall's now 65. So that on top of the air suspension makes this an absolute waftmobile. I don't feel bumps at all. Nothing. Like right now, here's a pothole. I just went over one. Nothing. I feel nothing in this cabin. And then, you know, I'll go drive other cars that are nice everyday cars like a 3 Series, and I just find them uncomfortable and obviously not miserable because they're still nice places to be, but it's just not my Range Rover. So yeah. Inside, this thing is just perfect for winter. You've got a nice, light, spacious cabin. You've got sound isolation. You've got heated windscreen, which is fantastic. You've got your heated seats. You've got a really good climate control system, which when you whack it on the recirculation function, it heats up this cabin, given how big it is, so quickly. You've also got a preheat function. Some people even have remotes. I think this one did have one originally. I never saw it, but my previous Westminster did. And again, for a car that's 20 years old, having that feature is so good. And you can't get that in the UK with diesel or petrol cars anymore. You're only able to get preheat functions on cars with either an EV or a plug-in hybrid. You have to remember that it's not all sunshine and rainbows though. I will momentarily take off my rose-tinted glasses. You have to remember that these cars are old now. I think the very oldest, you're looking at 23 years old now, and the very youngest being sort of 2012, early 2013. By no means a young whippet anymore. These things do need love. They do need care and attention. But honestly, and I know I've only had 2 so far, and I've been very lucky that neither of mine have been lemons. So there will be people out there who'll say, like, the most unreliable things ever, don't touch them, blah, blah, blah. And I get where they're coming from to a certain extent. They've been bitten badly by something, and I get it. I would be frustrated too. But my experience so far, has it been smooth? Fairly so. Have there been issues? Yes. But there's not been anything cataclysmic that I can't fix. And I suppose that's why I'm quite lucky. You know, I'm by no means a grease monkey whatsoever, but I'm also not afraid to actually get my hands dirty and fix these little issues. Can I drop an engine out and rebuild it? Hell no. Would I want to? Probably not. But I'm more than capable of doing basic servicing items, changing brakes, suspension, all that stuff. And I think when you can do that, they become a lot more enjoyable. I think if you constantly got one in the garage due to all sorts of faults, it wasn't well taken care of, it was abused by the previous owners, it's been neglected and never had anything nice done to it, then yeah, I imagine, like any car, they are going to be grim and not fun, and they will absolutely want to make friends with your wallet. But if you're like me with the ones I buy, yes, they have a few quirks and issues, but it's nothing that I'm scared of and nothing that puts me off them, because the overall package and experience you have from one of these far outweighs any of that other guff. And I know people in the comments will be shouting at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've had 30 of these and they've all broken. You may have done, and that's fine. But for me, I love them. And there is a reason I'm always on the classifieds looking out for them. There is a reason that I have multiple cars in the household, and this is the one, especially in winter, I always jump to. Because it's just such a good car. It really is. And the best thing about it now is these things are such good value to buy. You can have them from as little as 900 quid if you're, around in the Facebook bargain bin, all the way up to, some of the Fantasist prices up at sort of 25 and 30k for the right spec. But there's something in there for everyone. And I think that's probably some of my best advice I can give you about these, is find the one that's right for you. For example, on engines, I think all of the engines are good in their own way, and they equally all have their quirks and issues in their own way. It's just finding the one that you're happy with, that suits your budget, suits your care and attention, and potentially your mechanic level. If you want something that is the newest of the new, that's probably one of the best engines, and you want that smooth, luxurious ride, go for a 4.4 TDV8. You know, if you want something that's similar to that, that's a little bit cheaper, that might want your wallet a little bit more due to its age and a few more expensive quirks down to the general mileage of the car, then by all means go for a 3.6 TDVA. If you want something that's a bit simpler mechanically and probably a bit more wallet friendly, if you are, you know, going to be doing it yourself, then by all means go for the M57 in the TD6, or go for the 4.4 BMW engine, the petrol. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them. I'm thoroughly enjoying my TD6, and you will probably see more videos on the channel about this, but I think it is a very, very, very underrated engine. I know people moan about them, but I don't get it. I really don't. Anyway, that's for another time. But I had intended for this to be only quite a short video as to why the L322 is so good in winter. And as usual, I've gone on an absolute tangent and ranted at you. But trust me, if you are thinking about buying one of these, even just for a few months over winter, I think you'd be surprised how good it is. And I also bet that you'd end up hanging on to it. The light is literally burning my retinas right now, so apologies for not looking at the camera. But yeah, I will argue it for many years to come on this channel, but I honestly don't think you can go wrong with these cars, especially in winter. They're fantastic. I'm very, very smug. And yeah, well, they're so cheap. It's kind of a no-brainer, for me anyway. But again, that's just me. Anyway, I hope you found that video useful, guys. There will be a lot more on the channel to come. I'm going to try not absolutely waterboard you with Range Rover content. I appreciate quite a lot of you subscribed for that reason. I still will post quite a lot about it, but I'm going to try to do a few more things as well going forward, so watch out for that. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do. It would be much appreciated. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.